Have you ever had to put a spoiled brat in their place? I'm a lifeguard at our community pool, and this 15-year-old Marcus thinks the rules don't apply to him because his dad's on the HOA board. Every single day for 3 weeks straight, he'd show up around noon with his crew. Marcus would cannonball right next to families with toddlers, sending massive waves that would soak everyone's towels. When little kids started crying, he'd just shrug and say, "It's a public pool, deal with it." The running was constant. I'd blow my whistle and point to the no running signs, but Marcus would slow down for 2 seconds, then sprint again the moment I looked away. He'd slide across the wet concrete on purpose, nearly taking out elderly swimmers. But the worst part was his Bluetooth speaker. This thing was industrial strength loud, blasting explicit rap music while families were trying to enjoy a peaceful afternoon. Parents would pack up and leave with their kids, shooting me frustrated looks. Every time I approached Marcus about the noise, he'd turn it down for 30 seconds, then crank it back up. "My dad pays your salary through HOA fees," he'd smirk. "Maybe learn your place." Last Tuesday, things escalated. Marcus and his friends started throwing pool toys at random swimmers. A foam basketball hit a pregnant woman in the stomach. When her husband confronted them, Marcus laughed and said, "Shouldn't bring a baby to a pool if you can't handle getting wet." I tried to kick them out, but Marcus pulled out his phone. "Let me call my dad real quick. You know, the guy who decides if this pool stays funded?" He was bluffing, but he said it loud enough that other families heard. But yesterday changed everything. Marcus strutted in around 1 p.m. with a new girl, clearly someone he was trying to impress. She was gorgeous, probably from his private school, and he was laying it on thick. "See that lifeguard tower?" He pointed at my station. "Basically my personal throne. That guy up there, he works for me." The girl looked uncomfortable, but Marcus kept going. "I basically run this place." He walked over to the deep end, which I'd noticed he always avoided, and started talking big. His friends were doing laps, showing off, but Marcus stayed planted on the pool deck. "The diving board's pretty fun," the girl mentioned casually. "Do you use it much?" I saw Marcus's face go white for just a second before he recovered. "Oh yeah, all the time. I'm probably the best diver here." But his voice cracked, and I suddenly realized something I should have noticed weeks ago. Marcus couldn't swim. All those cannonballs, shallow end only. The running around the deck, he never got in deeper than 4 feet. Even when throwing toys at people, he'd stayed where he could touch bottom. The girl was walking toward the diving board, expecting him to follow. Marcus's friends were calling him over, but he was frozen. His whole tough guy image was about to crumble. "Come on, Marcus!" his friend Jake yelled from the deep end. "Show her that backflip you're always talking about." Backflip? This kid had been lying about everything. I watched him take slow, reluctant steps toward the diving board, his usual swagger completely gone. "Ladies first," he said weakly, but she laughed and said, "No way. I want to see these famous diving skills." By now, half the pool was watching. Marcus had spent weeks making himself the center of attention, and now he had it whether he wanted it or not. His hands were shaking as he climbed the ladder. At the top, he stood frozen for almost a minute. The girl was getting suspicious. His friends looked confused. Even little kids had stopped playing to watch. Finally, with nowhere left to run, Marcus took the world's most awkward leap. It wasn't even a dive, more like a panicked jump with his arms flailing wildly. He hit the water like a sack of rocks and immediately started thrashing around in complete terror. No technique, no coordination, just pure panic as he realized he was in 10 feet of water. I was already moving before he went under the second time, but I'll admit, I took my time getting to the pool ladder. Not enough to put him in real danger, but definitely long enough for his crush, his friends, and about 30 witnesses to see Marcus at his most vulnerable. When I finally dove in and pulled him to safety, he was coughing up chlorinated water and shaking. The girl had already collected her things and left without a word. His friends were trying not to laugh, but failing. "You okay, Marcus?" I asked loud enough for everyone to hear. "Maybe stick to the shallow end from now on?" He couldn't even look at me, just nodded weakly and stumbled toward the exit, leaving his speaker behind. Since then, Marcus shows up alone and sits quietly in the 3-foot section. When I give safety instructions, he says, "Yes, sir," and follows them immediately. Turns out respect isn't about who your dad knows. It's about not drowning in front of your crush.